Hey y'all, this is Marley K. Hope y'all are well. Got a couple of stories that I want to share with you. They are surrounding the Rona origins, the Fauci interrogations in Congress, and the fact that some folks are finally coming forward with some truths. And not that, us skeptical folks are going to be vindicated at all. But this is just GP for the future and for what's coming, because um, everything that's peddled now is basically going to be a part of their deletion agenda. People are not being deleted fast enough. People are being deleted still because of the solution that they took, whether it was forced upon them from employers or family members, or they just did it voluntarily because they trusted their leaders, their church folk, whoever. Folks are leaving here, and people are starting to finally wake up, and people are starting to come out and reveal stuff that they haven't revealed before. So I'm going to share this first story with you. This one. This came from Natural News, and it says whistleblower calls for WEF founder Klaus Schwab to be arrested over crimes against humanity. So it says Pascal Nadaji. The days of WEF co-founder Klaus Schwab may be numbered. Pascal Najadi, the son of fellow WEF co-founder Hussein Najadi, is speaking out as a whistleblower against the current top dog at the Globalist Foundation, accusing him and other leaders of crimes against humanity. Najadi says the crimes of Schwab and his buddies are so great that there needs to be an immediate arrest of both Schwab and the WEF executives, such as Billy Gates of Hell, as well as the other leaders of the organization that makes the owl sound, Big Pharma, and Big Tech. In partnership with Schwab, Nadaji's father started the WEF back in 1971. He quit a decade later, citing disgust with Schwab's dystopian vision for the future for non-elite humanity, which basically is a fancy shadow organization for modern eugenics programs. Let's keep it above. That's what they are. White people, Anglo-Saxons, Caucasians, whatever you want to call them, Europeans, believe that certain ones, not all, gotta say that, um, believe that a lot of us, other people who don't look like them, shouldn't be here, and we're useless eaters. If you're disabled, if you're, you know, born with mental deficiencies, if they feel like you're poor, you're going to be generationally poor, you're going to produce more poor people, they don't want you here. Now, never mind that they set up all the circumstances and make up all the criteria to determine who should be here and who should not be here. But this is what this organization is all about. This is what these people are always all about. This is why y'all got to come back and clean up shop, because as long as these people are here, there ain't going to be no peace on earth, and you ain't going to be able to live in peace. So it says, Najadi is also upset that he and his mother were both tricked into getting jabbed for the dragon corona thing. Gotta speak in code. A fake pandemic that was aggressively pushed by the WEF and others. According to Najati, he and his mother are now dying from the injections, which he says are poison that was pushed on the world by the likes of Schwab. The devil lives in Geneva, Najati said. Now, this ain't the first time I done heard that. And there's clearly some proof that something ain't right coming from over there, which is why I be calling these folks children of the corn and fallen angels, and like something just is not right. Like just something is not right with some groups of people. Together with prosecutors, Najati is pushing towards eventually holding Schwab accountable for unleashing hell on the world. His case is also drawing attention to other globalist bodies like the United Nations that cooperated in the evil scheme. Right now, leaders on the WEF, the UN, and the organization that makes the owl sound maintain diplomatic immunity, meaning they cannot be charged and tried. But Najati wants that diplomatic immunity revoked, followed by the issuance of arrest warrants. Najati is the same guy, by the way, who filed a lawsuit against long-standing Swiss Prime Minister Alain Berset for lying to the public about the BAP-BAPs. The suit ultimately led to Berset resigning from his post this past June, which is interesting because we ain't heard nothing about none of this. So this is why I'm telling you, you gotta read alternative news sources to find out what's going on all over the globe, because there's no way they're going to tell us about this. Now, with that success under his belt, Najati is moving on to the bigger fish at the UN Gavi, which is the computer guy who knows all things Bill Gates from hell. That is his research company. They do something with drugs. I think I talked about it last year in one of my videos. I'll have to go back and find it, see if I can link it to this. But he has a partnership with I want to say the World Health Organization, and with Europe, the European Union, and maybe even with America. But it's something to do with pharmaceuticals. The WEF and the WHO. According to Najati, the belly of the beast is Geneva, Switzerland. I ain't saying it. Somebody else said it. Which he says is ground zero for globalist control over the world. The devil lives in Geneva, Najati is famously quoted as saying. Everything evil in the world related to democide, unfortunately, comes from Geneva, Najati is quoted as saying. So I'm going to see what democide is, because I ain't never heard nobody ever say that word. Democide refers to the intentional killing of unarmed or disarmed persons by government agents acting in their authoritative capacity and wait a minute, and pursuant to government policy or high command. Oh, the term was first coined by Holocaust historian and statistics expert R.J. Rummel. Okay, so democide is murder of people by a government which has power over them. Oh, well, okay, all right. You have the WHO in Geneva. You have Gavi, which is Bill Gates' vaccine alliance. Then you have the WEF, which my father was a co-founder and left Klaus Schwab out of disgust in the early 80s that has diplomatic immunity. So y'all see that, right? That's why you have to be very careful about what you're taking these days, because when you get sick, there's no recourse for you. You just out of here. And you out of here because that was the intention from the beginning when they made this sick care uh, policy, or this sick care system that we have. It's supposed to be health care, but it's really sick care because they want you to be sick so they can milk you. Like, you just milk from the time you born to the time you die. They just don't let you rest. You're either something to make money off of, something to control, or something that should not be here and delete it. So it says, as a Swiss citizen, Najati has made a declaration in and of himself that wealth is no longer eligible for diplomatic immunity. Swiss authorities, he says, need to immediately arrest the ringleaders there for advocating what he describes as global humanity injection by a bioweapon, referring to the lollipops and the bap-baps. If you don't know what lollipops and bap-baps are, I don't know what to tell you. The things that they gave us to keep us from getting sick back in 2020, 2021, and that they're still pushing right now, even though it's been disclosed that they don't work. I call on the Swiss authorities and security to arrest those people immediately, Najati declared. Why? The WEF, WHO, Gavi, Big Pharma, Big Tech, and Bill Gates all advocated a global humanity injection by bioweapon, injecting nanolipids into 5.7 billion people. And we Swiss are hosting them. That's terrible. We cannot tolerate any entity that promotes poison to be injected into humanity. But you have done it. I'm the victim. I'm dying from it. And my mother, too. It's a democide and will be judged. It will be corrected in the name of humanity. And that is true because Yah is getting ready to judge the entire earth, all the nations. And note again, as I will always say, we, the chosen people, don't have nothing to do with this stuff. We don't have that blood on our hands. Now, we may have some blood on our hands for some other stuff that we did to each other, some other things that we partook of because we were in the belly of the beast. We were captives and influenced by our captors. We didn't know who we are. We didn't know our ways. So there will be some judging that we have to do, but anything um, while we still have time, you can repent from and seek forgiveness, grace, and ask for grace and mercy, and you know, be spared. But a lot of these people are Satanists. They don't want to be asking for forgiveness. They want to do what they're doing because they know where they're going. They're being used by the adversary, or they are fallen angels. They evil. And so you got to understand that all these things are going on right now. A lot of the stuff is just distraction. We didn't even know anything about this. Another thing that nobody is talking about is the stuff that's also tied to this, is how Fauci uh, was dishonest when he was questioned in Congress for his handling over our public health emergency when the bioweapon was unleashed upon the world, and they already had these BAPs ready to give us. So I'm going to read this story to you, and then I'm going to end this video. So it says, Dr. Fauci should go to prison for mishandling COVID-19 pandemic and the COVID-19 pandemic and making the worst decision ever made by a public health official in the history of time regarding the origins of the deadly outbreak, Senator Rand Paul charged Sunday. Paul, a Kentucky Republican and eye doctor, has repeatedly clashed with Fauci over wearing masks, lockdowns, and other emergency measures ordered and recommended by the then director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. History should judge him as a deficient person who made one of the worst decisions in public history, in the entire history of the world, Paul said of the former chief White House medical advisor, during an interview on WABC 770 AM's The Cats Roundtable. The senator ripped slipshod Fauci, holding him culpable for research done in the China lab that y'all already know. I'm not calling the name, which Paul believes triggered the viral outbreak. For his dishonesty, frankly, he should go to prison, Paul told WABC host John Castimatidis. Do you think the scientific knowledge that was gained from this research was worth the deaths of 20 million people? Probably more than that, because people still dying from having been exposed to the virus, and then some are, which is a bioweapon, and then some people are leaving here because of the injections that they received that was supposed to cure them or prevent them from getting the virus, which was also another bioweapon. So, when you try to tell people these things, they look at you like you got two heads. They call you crazy. They call you a conspiracy theorist. But now it's all coming out. This man, who is an Ashkenaz, Khazar, they have a mission. And notice he was one of the ones who specifically targeted us in DC and Atlanta and other places. He was going around the world, around the country, traveling, giving it to us, going to our churches, telling us we needed to be less skeptical. Even when people was like, "I don't trust y'all. We don't trust y'all." He's like, "Well, why not?" You have to go back and look at the exchanges during that time. Black people was not feeling him. They were not feeling that bap, and they were right. And so, when you think about it, it just demonstrates how we are spiritually connected. If you are spiritually connected, if you are chosen to see, like immediately, the spirit was like, they don't never give y'all nothing. And even if it's like, if you are a victim of child abuse, if your parents beat you all the time and then your parent come and suddenly be nice to you, you're gonna be suspect. You're gonna be like, wait a minute, what is going on? Why are they being nice to me? I don't trust that. Like, that is how most people should be. But most people are so trusting of this government, so loving, that they just don't even give it a second thought. And so now we're dealing with the impact of trusting people who shouldn't have been trusted because they've never done us right. So anyway, it says the Government Accountability Office issued a report in June 2023 that found the National Institutes of Health had contributed more than $1.4 million to Chinese research institutions between 2014 and 2019, despite serious biosafety concerns, including the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Dr. Anthony Fauci arriving for an interview with the House Select Subcommittee on the coronavirus pandemic at the Capitol on January the 8th, 2024. Notice they haven't been talking about that hardly at all because we've been bombarded with other stuff. That's why I was telling you, you have to be very careful about what's in your news feed, because when you see you've been being bombarded with a bunch of stuff in your news feed that is just like trash, domestic trash stuff, something else going on. So you got to dig for it. Sometimes you can't find it, but it'll eventually come out and you'll be like, oh, this is why I was getting all this junk. Senator Rand Paul said Fauci should go to prison for his mishandling of the COVID-19 pandemic. Tom Williams, CQ Roll Call Inc. So it's just an image, okay. Fauci previously denied in testimony to Congress that the NIH had funded the risky gain-of-function research at the lab in Wuhan, the area where the pandemic began in late 2019. And remember, there is let me see if I can find it. The Economist cover. where back in 2020, it showed, let me see if I can find it, a family sitting on a chair trying to keep from getting the virus with mask on. It's like crazy how they be planning this stuff out. And you can see hindsight 2020. This is the cover I want to show y'all. So if you look, pull this up. So there's the pig, representative of the swine flu. First, let me show you the date on this. So the date on this is June 27th through July 3rd, 2020. Now, remember, he was questioned in 2019. I mean, he wasn't questioned in 2019, but they funded this stuff like in 2014 through 2016 or something, 17. And this virus came out in China in 2019. This cover by The Economist was done in 2020. And so if you look here, it has the pig and then it has the viruses on the wall for the swine flu. So I guess that's a representative of swine flu, a virus, or what other things that are going to be unleashed on us. And as you can see, the parents have masks on. They have on gas masks, but the little boy don't have nothing on. He got on a helmet, like he gonna have to go to war, whether figuratively or literally. And the parents are just like, it's gonna be okay, son. The daddy looking straight ahead, he don't care. The mama's like, it's gonna be all right with her mask on. And the little boy don't have no mask on. He's not covered at all. Just to me, it's symbolic of how adults are today. They care only about themselves. They don't care about the third and fourth generations like we're supposed to do, especially as Israelite communities. We are very selfish. But most people, especially Americans, and people who live in European nations, we are very selfish because that is something that the Europeans believe in. They don't necessarily believe in protecting everybody all the time. They only protect what they care about. Sometimes they don't even care about their own children. Now, I will say a lot of us are not like that, but we have become like that. When you think about all the things that we give to our children and don't teach our children, we rely on other people to do those things for us. And so it eventually becomes a catastrophe for our community because we've gotten away from our ways of knowing, our culture, and how we do things. So, getting back to this story, it says, let me read this again. So it says Fauci previously denied in testimony to Congress that the NIH had funded risky gain of function research at the lab in Wuhan, the area where the pandemic began in late 2019. Paul said he was startled that Democrats still treat the nation's former infectious disease chief as a medical messiah and protect him as a symbol of big government. He's never been held responsible, the senator said, and I wholeheartedly agree. Don't make me a Republican because I agree. I agree because this is about humanity. This is about my children and grandchildren and great grandchildren and whatever they put into people, whether it was through this virus or whether it was through the solution, we could eventually just be um, become transhumanists. We could be transformed because of what they've done to us. We could be deleted because we don't know what's inside of us and how those things are going to work. They know how they're going to work because they made them. They made them for this time. So we have to be very wise of the devices of the adversary right now. He has all sorts of devices that we're not always aware of. But what we must do is make sure we are on point, aware of everything that's going on, try as best we can, and just try to warn other people. I'm trying to find this scripture about the Satan's devices. Okay, so here it is. 2 Corinthians 2:11. Lest Satan should take advantage of us, for we are ignorant of his devices. When we are ignorant of Satan's devices, and he has so many, we have to know what his devices are. Ephesians 6:10-13. Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord, or be strong in Yah, and in the power of his might. Put on the whole armor of Yah, that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this age, against spiritual hosts of wickedness in the heavenly places. Therefore, take up the whole armor of Yah, that you may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all to stand. And so that's what my channel is about, and a lot of other channels. We are just trying to help each other stand, and it's very hard when you're around so many dead people who are asleep, who don't have a clue, who willingly just walk and do whatever they're told, don't question nothing, afraid to question authority. They just want the easy way out. They're cowards. This walk is not for everybody, and that's why they say, the path is narrow. A lot of people are not going to sacrifice to stay on this path. They're not going to do whatever it is that they need to do in order to stand in this time and fight. They're not going to try to understand what these devices are, and there's so many that they will succumb to them. So we're about helping each other, enlightening each other. This is a lesson. Like, we don't need African American Black people. We don't need no more lessons. The adversary done taught us. If we ain't got our behind kicked over these last hundreds of years, I don't know what to say about us. Like, we just like getting beat up. We like being hoodwinked, bamboozled, and misled. I don't. And so now that I know better, I'm on a journey to try to do better and try to teach others about, like, what's happening. This stuff is happening to all of us. Even if you didn't get the BAP, you were still exposed to the virus. Like, everybody I know just about been sick more, and some people more than one time. I know I was sick more than one time, and I had all kinds of side effects from being sick, just being exposed from the bioweapon, the virus. So you got to understand that this stuff was done to us intentionally. It's not no accident. And then hopefully you have sense enough to have some feelings about it, because from what I could tell, most people don't even really care. So it said Fauci, the top pandemic medical advisor to two presidents, testified privately last week before the House Select Subcommittee on the coronavirus pandemic. Paul blamed Fauci for funding the research done at the Wuhan Institute of Virology that some believe triggered the outbreak. The chairman of the committee, Representative Brad Winstrup, has said he was surprised how frequently Fauci said he didn't recall decisions or circumstances during the early days of the outbreak that killed 1.1 million Americans. Really killed probably 10 times more, but because folks are able to, can't talk, can't say nothing. So you just got to go with that number, but you don't have to go with it. Just know that's the number that they say, but we all know that number is much higher. Paul pounced on the 83-year-old Fauci's of Paul pounced on the 83-year-old Fauci's of not being able to respond to questions over 100 times. Over 100 times he couldn't remember stuff. So this also says COVID 6 feet social distancing sort of just appeared, likely lacked scientific basis, Fauci admits. So y'all know 6 is the number of the beast, and they love 6. So that's what I'm gonna say. A guy that's smart enough to think that he can shut down the schools, shut down the economy, force everybody to get bapped, including children, including people who already had COVID, including the military. We had mandates everywhere, and he was all for them. Yet he can't recall how the decision making went and what the science is to support this, Paul said Sunday. He poked Fauci for saying he approved all the research at the Wuhan lab but didn't read it. So y'all heard this. The head of of one of the biggest funded governmental organizations said that he approved research at this lab in China, but he didn't read what the research was about. Now you know. I was born one night, but it wasn't last night. It looked like the virus came from the lab, but the lab only was able to function because the U.S. funded it and Anthony Fauci approved of it, Paul said. This is probably the worst decision ever made by a public health official in the history of time. Fauci could not be reached for a comment. During last week's House testimony, Fauci spoke of a new definition of operational gain of function research. And when I was talking to people about this, they were looking at me like I was crazy, like they just didn't understand. And because I had infectious disease background, working with HIV, I knew some stuff, and I just knew. I was like, this don't even sound right. This stuff what he talking about don't even make no sense. It's quite contrary to what they've been teaching us. So when you try to tell other people stuff, they just kind of look at you like you fool. Anyway, it says a phrase that often describes experiments that make viruses more contagious and virulent. Paul said Fauci was responsible for the worst decision ever made by a public health official in the history of time. Representative Debbie Dingell told reporters afterwards that Fauci had referred to his operational definition when discussing his prior high-profile clashes with Paul over the topic in 2021 hearings. The House subcommittee is also probing influence Fauci may have had over the U.S. intelligence community about the origin of the pandemic after a whistleblower alleged that the NIAID director secretly visited Alphabet Agency headquarters in an attempt to influence analysts who later were unable to determine whether the virus leaked from a lab or was transmitted from animals to humans. They always give you that lie. Fauci declined to respond to the Post questions last week about the whistleblower's claim as he arrived for his interview. He also did not stop to talk as he left the interview room last Monday. So, I said all that to say the world is finally waking up and able to somewhat have a discussion about the debauchery of how we have been treated over the last 3 years when it came to this bioweapon. The whole world was basically nuked with this virus, and they're getting ready to do it again. That's why they're meeting next week so that they can go forward with the next plan. I'm talking about this so that we can be prepared. Be prepared as in to just say no to drugs. Read between the lines. Just say no to drugs. So that you can do the opposite of whatever they tell you to do. You cannot follow the children of the corn, they are not trustworthy, unfortunately. And so if they tell you don't put your mask on, you might want to put your mask on. If they tell you don't have no scientific something, you might just want to put it on anyway, because if the cootie bugs get in your nose and mouth and eyeballs, that's how it gets into your respiratory system, and then just breaks your body down, tears up your immune system. You might want to cover up your nose and your mouth. To me, that makes sense. If you don't want to get it, especially if you have pre-existing health conditions, um, if you have little children, you might want to protect them because their immune system's not always strong enough to fight off stuff. If you got old people, you really may want to protect them. Now, how you decide to protect them, that's between you and your master, you and your Messiah, you and your God. You got to use your common sense and you got to use some spiritual discernment. We on our own. And so if you don't have a connection to the Most High or to the Creator, you in trouble because you got to try to figure this thing out by yourself. And you don't know if you ask your neighbor what they doing, who they talking to. It might be a fallen angel talking to them. They might got some other stuff up in them that's controlling them and talking to them. So it is really important that you hone your spiritual discernment. You listen. Your gut starts telling you something, when your mind is like, you just don't feel right about something. Trust that. Trust it. Don't be second guessing yourself. Now, this ain't no time to be playing around and acting dumb and acting like somebody care about you. Let me tell you something. Ain't that many people on this earth that care about you. I care about the people who listen to me. I care about the people who don't listen to me. And that's why I'm spending my time trying to talk to those people who don't listen, because those people are probably going to be the ones who get impacted by this next thing that's coming out. But, I want to share this information with you because I just wanted to show that things are coming out, but nobody's talking about it. So while you're all engaged in all this other nonsense that's coming out, not saying that it's important, it's all still, tied to biblical prophecy, but these things are also important. And because they are, one is the past, but one is a predictor of the future, we got to pay attention to that. So that's what I want to talk about. Y'all just make sure y'all be ready. Get your houses in order. Get your things that you need. Get your holistic remedies. Build your immune systems up. Make sure that you are prepared with things to keep your house and yourselves clean. Do what you got to do in order to endure to the end. Be aware of all of the adversary's devices, because they are many, from media to medicine. It's just many. And we don't know them all. And nobody knows everything. I don't know nothing. I read all the time and I still just be like, oh my God, I'm learning so much. So, I enjoy learning. I know a lot of people do not. I enjoy reading. I know a lot of people do not. I enjoy helping and teaching. A lot of people don't care. They think that's somebody else's job. So I take my job seriously. And it's not like a job, but it's something that the Creator, the Most High, told me, placed on my heart that I need to be doing, and I have answered the call. So with that said, I'm going to end this video. Please like it, share it, subscribe to the channel, leave comments so that the algorithms will carry it out. They're doing a fantastic job of suppressing my numbers as best they can because of the topics that I talk about. Make sure you are paying attention to all the signs and symbols and codes. There's signs and symbols and codes everywhere. People are talking, there are pictures, there are just so much stuff. Like, we are really ignorant to Satan's devices. And I'm even saying that about myself. We cannot afford to be ignorant of his devices. And so that's why we have these conversations on this channel. And that's why a lot of other teachers are talking about these types of things during these times, because once the media goes down, when there's a media blackout, we're not going to be able to tell you nothing no more. So you need to try to get as much information as you can. All right, please follow me on Rumble, Odyssey, Instagram, and Facebook. The links are in the description. In the event that I get booted from YouTube, this is my primary platform. My content is backed up on Odyssey and Rumble, and I will continue to bring content if allowed on those platforms. If you'd like to support the channel financially, links are in the description. Coffee and Venmo links are in the description as well. Keep prepping, keep praying, keep asking for spiritual discernment. Continue to repent for sins daily, sins of commission and sins of omission. Learn those laws, statutes, and commandments. Read your Old Testament, your Tanakh, your Torah, because there are so many things in there that we need to be applying to our lives and teaching us that we just have gotten away from. And those things will protect us during these wicked, evil times. All right, y'all. This is Marla K, and I'm out.